I've seen things that most people wouldn't believe. Creatures that are supposed to be legends, myths. But once you've been with Nightwatch long enough, nothing surprises you anymore. Well, almost nothing. This mission was different. I was sent out to Roane County, Tennessee, near a stretch of road known as TN-61, just outside Harriman. You'd think that a place so close to civilization, right near the Manhattan Project National Historical Park, wouldn't be prime territory for cryptid activity, but you'd be wrong. There's something about the Appalachian forests, dense, ancient, and holding secrets that go deeper than the roots of the oldest trees. They say these mountains have seen it all. After this mission, I believed them. The reports started as whispers, cattle mutilations, strange noises echoing through the hollers at night. But what really got Nightwatch's attention were the disappearances. People, locals, hikers, vanishing without a trace. At first they thought it might have been bears, maybe mountain lions. But that theory didn't stick when they found the bodies, torn apart, mangled like something had used them for sport. Whatever it wasn't natural. That's when Nightwatch sent me in. Roane County has a rich history, dating back to its establishment in 1801. Named after Archibald Roane, the second governor of Tennessee, the area is steeped in stories and legends. Among these tales is the legend of the Cloaked Bigfoot, a creature said to roam the dense forests, shrouded in mystery and fear. Local folklore speaks of a giant, hairy figure cloaked in shadows that has been sighted for generations. Some say it's a guardian of the forest, while others believe it's a harbinger of doom. The elders of Roane County have passed down these stories, each adding their own encounters and experiences, making the legend even more enigmatic. As I delved deeper into the history and folklore, it became clear that this mission was unlike any other. The Cloaked Bigfoot was not just a myth, it was a part of the very fabric of Roane County. Armed with this knowledge, I knew that Nightwatch had to be prepared for anything. The Cloaked Bigfoot of Roane County was waiting, and we were ready to uncover the truth. When I first drove down TN-61, passing through the sleepy town of Harriman, it all seemed so normal. Kids playing in front yards, elderly couples sitting on their porches watching cars go by. But the farther I went down that road, the more it felt like I was leaving civilization behind and heading into something ancient. The air was heavy, thick with moisture and the weight of something unspoken. I was briefed on the area beforehand. The Manhattan Project National Historical Park was nearby, a remnant of a time when men dabbled with forces far beyond their understanding. I couldn't help but wonder if there was a connection. Roane County was steeped in history, and sometimes history has a way of leaving scars. Invisible scars, sure, but still there. My target was a stretch of forest just off the road. Locals called it cursed. A few old-timers swore up and down that you could hear voices in the woods at night. Others spoke of shadows that moved when there was no wind. But no one had any solid answers. And if there's one thing I've learned in my time with Nightwatch, it's that when people don't have answers, it usually means something's out there that shouldn't be. I made camp just inside the tree line, near one of the areas where a mutilated cow had been found. The rancher who reported it said he'd heard screaming that night, screams that didn't sound human or animal. He didn't go out to investigate until morning, and by then, the cow was a mess of blood and bone. He'd called the authorities, but they had no clue what could have done it. That night, I sat by the fire, my rifle at my side, scanning the shadows beyond the flickering light. The Appalachian woods are eerily quiet at night, save for the occasional rustle of leaves or distant cry of an owl. But something was off. I couldn't put my finger on it at first, but it was like the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. It didn't take long. Around midnight, I heard it, a low, guttural growl. It wasn't far, maybe 50 yards beyond my camp. My body went cold, every hair on the back of my neck standing up. I grabbed my rifle, flicked on my flashlight, and aimed it into the trees. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating nothing but leaves and branches. But then, it moved. I didn't see it, not at first, but I saw the trees bend as if something huge had passed between them. The undergrowth shifted, disturbed by something heavy, something fast. I couldn't make out a shape, but I knew it was watching me. Whatever it was smart. It knew I was there and it was toying with me. That's when I saw it, a shimmer in the air, like heat rising off pavement in the dead of summer. Except this wasn't heat. It was something moving, something big. I focused the flashlight on it, and for a brief second, the light reflected off something that shouldn't have been there. It was cloaked, like it was bending light around itself, blending into the environment like some kind of chameleon. I'd seen the Predator movies, hell, most people have. But this wasn't some Hollywood special effect. This was real, and it was standing maybe 30 feet in front of me. I didn't waste any time. I fired a shot right at the shimmer, and the bullet hit something solid. The growl that followed was deep and angry, like I'd just pissed off something that was used to getting its way. The shimmer shifted, darting off into the trees faster than anything that size should have been able to move. I knew right then that this was no ordinary cryptid. This thing had abilities I'd never seen before. I chased it into the woods. Stupid, I know, but when you're hunting these things, instinct kicks in. I tracked the shimmer, watching for the telltale signs, the disturbed leaves, the way the trees bent as it passed. It led me deeper into the forest, far from my camp, far from any sign of human life. And that's when it happened. The air around me grew thick, almost distorted. It was like reality itself was warping. The trees, the ground, the stars above, all of it started to blur, like I was looking at the world through a broken lens. I stopped, trying to get my bearings, but the more I stood there, the more everything around me shifted. And then, I wasn't in the forest anymore. I don't know how to explain it. One second I was standing in the middle of the woods, and the next, I wasn't. I was somewhere else. The air was colder, and the sky above me wasn't the sky I knew. It was dark, with strange shifting colors like an aurora, but unnatural. The trees were twisted, gnarled in ways that didn't make sense. And the silence? It was absolute. No wind, no animals, no sounds. Just me and them. I could see them now. 3 of them. They weren't cloaked anymore. Their bodies were massive, covered in dark, matted fur with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness. They moved silently, their feet barely touching the ground, as if the rules of physics didn't apply here. I realized then that I wasn't just hunting something in the woods. These things could move between dimensions. They'd pulled me into their world, and for a brief moment, I wasn't sure if I'd ever get out. I don't know how long I was there, minutes, hours, time didn't seem to matter in that place, but I knew I had to get out. I felt like my mind was unraveling, like the longer I stayed, the less I understood about where I was or who I was. That's when I made my move. I fired my rifle, not aiming to kill, just to distract them. The shot rang out, shattering the silence, and for a second the creatures flinched. It was all I needed. I ran, blindly, not knowing if I was heading in the right direction or if I was even still in the same dimension. But then the air shifted again, and suddenly I was back in the woods. The trees were familiar, the cold Appalachian air biting at my skin. I had escaped, but I wasn't done. The creatures had followed me back. I could see the shimmer again, flickering through the trees. This time I wasn't taking any chances. I set a trap, something simple but effective. I lured them in with bait, waiting until they were close enough to make their move. When they did, I was ready. It wasn't easy. These things were fast, smart, and deadly. But I outwitted them. One by one, I took them down, using everything I'd learned over the years. It wasn't about strength or firepower, it was about strategy. When the last one fell, the forest was quiet again. I stood there, surrounded by their bodies, and for a moment I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness. Because even though I'd survived, I knew that what I'd experienced out there had changed me. I'd seen a world that wasn't supposed to exist, touched a reality that wasn't mine. I buried the bodies just like I always do. Nightwatch doesn't need the evidence, they just need to know the job's done. But as I walked back to my camp, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching me. Something from that other dimension, waiting for its chance to pull me back. I sent in my report, gave Nightwatch the details, and they were satisfied. But I wasn't. I couldn't stop thinking about it, about how close I'd come to losing myself in that other world, about how these creatures could move in and out of dimensions like it was nothing, and about what else might be out there waiting to be discovered. Every mission leaves a scar, but this one changed the way I look at the world, because now I know that reality isn't as solid as we like to think. And sometimes, when you're hunting monsters, they'll take you to places you never wanted to go. The legend of the Cloaked Bigfoot in Roane County began with a single, chilling encounter. It was a foggy evening in late October when a local farmer, James Whitaker, reported seeing something extraordinary on the edge of his property. "I was out checking the fences," James recounted, his voice trembling slightly. "It was getting dark, and the fog was rolling in. That's when I saw it, something massive moving through the trees, At first I thought it was just a shadow, but then it stepped into the clearing. James described the creature as being over 8 feet tall, covered in dark, matted fur. But what stood out the most was its ability to seemingly vanish into thin air. One moment it was there, and the next it just disappeared, like it walked through an invisible door. Whitaker wasn't the only one to witness the phenomenon. A few days later, a group of hikers reported similar sightings in the same area. They described hearing strange, guttural noises and seeing large footprints that seemed to appear and disappear without a trace. Physical evidence was scarce, but what little was found only added to the mystery. Deep impressions in the ground, far too large for any known animal, and broken branches high up in the trees suggested something enormous had passed through. But the most compelling piece of evidence was a series of blurry photographs taken by one of the hikers. Though not clear, the images showed a large, shadowy figure that seemed to flicker in and out of visibility. These sightings were the first of many, and they laid the groundwork for what would become one of the most perplexing mysteries in Roane County. The Cloaked Bigfoot was not just a creature of legend. It was a tangible, if elusive, presence that defied explanation. As the sightings continued, so did the questions. What was this creature? How did it move between dimensions? And most importantly, why was it here? The answers, if they existed, remained hidden in the fog, just like the creature itself. Following the initial sightings of the Cloaked Bigfoot, Roane County was thrown into intrigue and unease. The local authorities, initially skeptical, took action as more reports came in. Sheriff Mark Thompson organized interviews with witnesses. At first I thought it was just tall tales, Thompson admitted, but hearing the same story from different people was hard to ignore. The interviews painted a consistent picture, a towering figure, cloaked in darkness. Each account shared this common thread, lending credibility to the legend. Local journalist Sarah Mitchell documented the phenomenon. "I've never seen the community so spooked," Sarah said. "People are locking their doors at night." The tension in the air was palpable. A search party was formed to get to the bottom of the mystery. "We're determined to get some answers," said Jake Miller, a seasoned tracker. Equipped with flashlights and cameras, they ventured into the dense woods. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation and fear. They found large footprints, broken branches, and tufts of dark fur. The most unsettling discovery was strange markings on the trees. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," said volunteer Emily Harris. "These markings feel intentional, like they're trying to tell us something." The search party collected samples, but the creature remained elusive. Despite their efforts, they returned with more questions than answers. The investigation deepened the mystery, leaving the community to wonder. The search continued, and so did the fear and fascination. The investigation was far from over, and the truth was still out there, waiting to be uncovered. As the investigation carried on, the search party grew more determined to uncover the truth. It was during one of these tense nights, deep in the heart of the forest, that the unimaginable happened. The air was thick with an unsettling calm, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves and distant animal calls. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the trees, sending a shiver down everyone's spine. The group halted, flashlights scanning the darkness. "Did you hear that?" whispered Jake Miller, his voice trembling. The fear in his eyes was palpable. Emily Harris clutched her flashlight tighter, her heart pounding in her chest. "It's close," she breathed, barely audible. Then, out of the shadows, the Cloaked Bigfoot emerged, its towering figure blending seamlessly with the night. The creature's eyes glowed with an eerie light, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. Sarah Mitchell, the journalist, managed to snap a photo, her hands shaking uncontrollably. "Oh my God," she gasped. "It's real! It's actually real!" The creature let out another growl, this time more menacing, as if warning the intruders to stay back. The group, frozen in fear, could only watch in awe and terror. Mark Thompson, the sheriff, mustered up the courage to take a step forward, his voice steady yet filled with tension. "We mean no harm," he said, holding up his hands. "We just want to understand." The Cloaked Bigfoot tilted its head, as if considering his words, before suddenly vanishing into thin air. The group was left in stunned silence, the reality of their encounter slowly sinking in. Did that just happen?" Emily stammered, her eyes wide with disbelief. Jake nodded, his face pale. "Yeah, it did, and I don't think I'll ever forget it." The group quickly made their way back to town. their minds racing with what they'd just witnessed. The encounter had changed everything. The fear and intrigue surrounding the cloaked Bigfoot had reached new heights, and the community of Roane County was more determined than ever to uncover the truth. The legend of the cloaked Bigfoot was no longer just a story. It was a chilling reality that would haunt them for years to come. The encounter with the cloaked Bigfoot had left the team both shaken and resolute. They knew they needed tangible proof to validate their experience and convince the skeptics. The following morning, they returned to the forest, determined to gather any physical evidence they could find. As the sun's first light filtered through the trees, the group meticulously combed the area where they had seen the creature. Sarah Mitchell, the journalist, was the first to spot something unusual. "Over here!" she called out, her voice tinged with excitement. The team hurried over to find a series of large, deep footprints embedded in the soft forest floor. Each print was nearly twice the size of a human foot and showed distinct claw-like impressions. "These are definitely not bear tracks," Mark Thompson, the sheriff, observed, kneeling down to get a closer look. "They match the description of Bigfoot tracks almost perfectly." Emily Harris carefully took plaster casts of the footprints, ensuring they had a permanent record. "This is incredible," she murmured. "We finally have something concrete." Next, Jake Miller found several strands of coarse, dark hair caught on a low-hanging branch. He placed them in a plastic bag for further analysis. "If this matches known samples of Bigfoot hair, it could be a game-changer," he said, his voice filled with hope. But the most compelling evidence came from Sarah's camera. As she reviewed the footage from the previous night, she discovered a brief but clear shot of the cloaked Bigfoot emerging from the shadows. The creature's eyes glowed eerily, just as they had in person. "This is it," Sarah exclaimed, showing the footage to the group. "Undeniable proof that we encountered something extraordinary." The team returned to town, their spirits lifted by the evidence they had collected. They knew it would be scrutinized and debated, but they were confident it would stand up to the test. The legend of the cloaked Bigfoot had been transformed from mere folklore into a documented phenomenon, and the people of Roane County were more determined than ever to uncover the full truth. The evidence they had gathered was just the beginning. The journey to unravel the mystery of the cloaked Bigfoot was far from over. With renewed determination, the team prepared for the challenges ahead, knowing that their quest for answers had only just begun. With compelling evidence in hand, the team gathered to discuss the myriad theories surrounding the cloaked Bigfoot. Understanding this elusive creature required delving into both science and the supernatural. One theory was that the cloaked Bigfoot was a relic species, a surviving descendant of the Gigantopithecus. If this is true, Sarah speculated, it could mean remarkable survival skills. Another theory suggested advanced camouflage capabilities akin to cephalopods. "It's possible that what we witnessed was biological cloaking," Jake explained. Some suggested a more paranormal origin, linking the cloaked Bigfoot to interdimensional travel. "These beings might shift between our reality and another dimension," Emily noted. Mark, the sheriff, mentioned a connection to UFO sightings. "Could they be extraterrestrial in origin?" he pondered. The team also considered the creature's glowing eyes, possibly bioluminescence. As they discussed, one thing became clear: the cloaked Bigfoot was an enigma. "We have to keep an open mind," Jake summarized. Their journey to uncover the truth was far from over, but they were determined. The legend of the cloaked Bigfoot had taken on a new dimension. With theories swirling in their minds, the team decided it was time to take action. They had to track and capture the cloaked Bigfoot, but it wouldn't be easy. This creature had evaded detection for so long, and they knew they needed a coordinated effort. The team also brought in cutting-edge technology to aid in their hunt. Drones equipped with thermal imaging cameras were deployed to scan the dense forests from above. Suddenly, one of the motion-activated cameras triggered an alert. The team huddled around the monitor, watching as a shadowy figure moved through the frame. The trackers moved quickly, following the creature's trail. Despite their best efforts, the team was unable to capture the Bigfoot that night. The hunt was far from over, and the team knew that capturing the cloaked Bigfoot would require patience, persistence, and a bit of luck. The hunt had led them deeper into the heart of Roane County's wilderness, where the forest grew denser and the air thicker with anticipation. The team moved with caution, every step measured, every sound analyzed. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the trees, freezing everyone in their tracks. "Did you hear that?" Sarah Mitchell whispered. A massive, shadowy figure emerged, its eyes glowing. "There it is," Jake Miller said. "The cloaked Bigfoot." The creature let out a deafening roar. "Stay calm," Mark Thompson instructed. Emily Harris raised her camera, capturing every moment. Just as the team prepared to make their move, a deafening crash echoed. The team turned to see a massive tree collapsing. In the chaos, the cloaked Bigfoot vanished. "We need to regroup," Sarah said. The hunt was far from over. The team pressed on, ready for whatever the forest had in store. The confrontation with the cloaked Bigfoot left the team and the local community in shock and awe. As the sun rose over Roane County, the events of the previous night seemed surreal. The team gathered at their base camp, their expressions weary. "We came face to face with something extraordinary," Mark Thompson said, "but this is just the beginning." The local community, once skeptical, now grappled with the reality of the creature's existence. News spread quickly, igniting fear, fascination, and curiosity. "I've lived here my whole life and never believed the stories," said one local resident. "But now, knowing it's out there, it's unsettling." The team members were changed by the experience. Their bond strengthened. They faced the challenge of processing what they had witnessed. Emily Harris replayed the footage, each frame revealing new details. "It's like trying to piece together a puzzle," she said. "Every time I watch it, I see something different." The encounter also had a profound impact on Sarah Mitchell. "I used to think of these legends as just that, legends," she admitted. "But now I realize there's so much we don't understand about our world." The team knew they couldn't stop now. The confrontation deepened their resolve to uncover the truth. With renewed determination, they began planning their next steps. The local authorities were drawn into the aftermath. They faced pressure to address the community's concerns. "We need to ensure the safety of our residents," the sheriff stated, "but we also need to understand what we're dealing with." The aftermath left an indelible mark on everyone involved. The legend of the cloaked Bigfoot had become a reality. The team's journey was far from over, and they prepared to delve deeper into the mystery. The hunt continued, now about understanding the enigma and its impact. The story was far from over, and the team was ready to face whatever lay ahead. As the dust settled, the legend of the cloaked Bigfoot took on a new life. It was no longer just a tale whispered around campfires. It had become a part of the community's fabric. "Stories like this have a way of sticking with you," said local historian James Carter. "They become part of our identity." The team members, now local heroes, found themselves at the center of a growing movement. Their encounter sparked a newfound respect for the unknown. "We set out to find answers," Mark Thompson reflected, "but we found a connection to folklore." Emily Harris felt a deep sense of responsibility. It's about preserving its story, ensuring it remains part of our cultural heritage. The legend had transcended mere curiosity. It had become a symbol of the unknown. "In a way, the cloaked Bigfoot represents our collective wonder," Sarah Mitchell mused. "There's always more to learn, more to explore." The community found unity in the shared experience. The cloaked Bigfoot had brought them together. As the team prepared for their next expedition, they did so with reverence. The hunt was now a journey of discovery. "The legend lives on," Mark Thompson declared, "and so does our journey." The story had come full circle. The legend would continue to evolve. The mystery remained, an enigma to be understood. But it was the journey that truly mattered. The legend lives on, with hope for future discoveries. Until then, the cloaked Bigfoot remains a guardian of the unknown, and so the legend lives on. The events from the group's encounters are remarkable. These things possess much more advanced abilities than we can imagine. I couldn't believe my eyes. The way they moved, almost like shadows, it was beyond anything I've ever seen. Their intelligence, their strategy. It was like they were always one step ahead of us.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more adventures from Jacob Hennessy of Nightwatch. The truth is always stranger than fiction. Until next time, take care.